Let's begin. So, my name is Stanavaya Inna, and I am a guide to a world where illness becomes a springboard instead of a dead end. A person who is in love with myopathy, in the good sense of the word, because for 7 years. Yes, 7 years old. I study it up and down. I am the coordinator for Pompe disease at the All-Russian Society of Orphan Diseases and the author of the blog Notes of a Rare Patient. A practicing nutritionist for people with neuromuscular diseases, and 90% of my clients are those whom doctors refuse. And, of course, these are people with various forms of neuromuscular diseases, as well as people who do not have a specific diagnosis, but have muscle problems. I am also practical psychologist, master of the PVS method, and teach the PVS method. This is because of the cases if someone did not know. I have developed my own rehabilitation program, Keep Moving, which even doctors recommend in their chats with each other and send our patients to me in this chat. Therefore, the program is truly made with soul, and I thank everyone who takes part there. I myself have Pompe disease or glycogenosis type 2. I achieved expensive therapy, which is not included in any of the government programs, of course, not without help. Other people, such as medical advocates, patient organizations and other support organizations, and the media. But I think that when therapy appears in others in the form of apathy, my experience will be useful for you too. And so, how to say, get this information. She is truly unique. My motto in life without long conversations to achieve results is, and nothing is impossible. There is not enough strength to achieve. And this is true. More than 100 people have completed my health restoration programs and improved their quality of life at all levels. That is, this is the mind, soul and body, especially those who buy the program as a package. More than 230 people regained their desire to live, found their purpose, and increased their income. More than 56 people accepted the diagnosis at all levels of mind, soul and body. 3 people changed their minds about committing, it's a scary word even to say on air, suicide after our conversation. So these are the people that I really know about it. And my goal now is not to irritate you with my achievements, but to convey what I can do for you. And I, like no one else, know what price had my present, and how did I pay for mine today. And, of course, I will never allow anyone to devalue my path, because only I know how much mine cost. She was just lucky. She has therapy, she has a husband, she has money. Therefore, I have every right to be proud of this. And if now my long story has hurt you, and you involuntarily felt unwell, this happens, then welcome to the consultation. I'll help you stop. Devalue yourself and finally see yourself as a unique person, and this is really true. Every person who is here is unique. So, let's get down to the most important part, step-by-step instructions for living with myopathy. And now I want you to hear, read my lips, say it out loud, not just with myopathy. Not only doctors, but often we ourselves, patients, blame all dogs for myopathy. I have no strength, because I have myopathy, or I often read in chat, is this related to myopathy? We immediately attribute some symptoms to myopathy, and often doctors, when we come to an appointment, and they see this is the diagnosis on our chart, we say, oh my God, that's it, it's myopathy that's to blame. But no, that's not true. There are a lot of problems that will actually help the myopathy progress more aggressively and quickly. And this is an indisputable fact. Why, yes, it happens. You have noticed, the same form, the same mutations. People seem to live in approximately the same conditions, while one progresses faster, and the second progresses more slowly. And no one will ever explain this phenomenon to you. But this is a fact, because we are very different. And many moments can be corrected and stopped. This is exactly within our power. Now I want to say something that is probably not very pleasant. But many myopaths die not from myopathy, but from its secondary consequences. So please take responsibility for your health and life. Remove all secondary benefits of being without strength and energy. By the way, I talked about secondary benefits live upon acceptance of the diagnosis. If you haven't seen it, please look it up in the channel. If you don't find it, write to the chat. I'll find it and send you the link. And please take a look. Don't be triggered by secondary gain because about 2 years ago, when they told me that you have secondary benefits from being sick, I exploded and simply said, "You are absolutely crazy." But in reality, this is the case. You need to pay attention to it. So, I want to say right away that these are incurable diagnoses and there will be no magical cure. Because, when many people read me, I, however, never positioned myself that I was healing anyone, or that I even healed myself there. This never happened. For some reason people read it this way. It's incurable. But it is in our hands to learn to live with this quality and happiness. And the choice is only ours. Sit and suffer. Or we learn to live with it, learn to cope and build our lives with our new rules. The first step is to clarify the diagnosis. If you are diagnosed with unspecified myopathy, you need to clarify it if possible. Because myopathy can be either primary, that is, genetic, or secondary, but here the processes can be reversible, provided that we find the root cause. Therefore, I won't burden you too much with this now. I have a step-by-step checklist, and if you don't have it yet, then please write now. Write diagnostics in our broadcast space, and I will send it to you at the end of the broadcast. The first step, I'll talk briefly anyway. The first step is we go to a neurologist who evaluates your reflexes, evaluates your muscle strength, and it gives direction for further research. You can ask for a referral for the following tests yourself if the doctor does not do this himself. I ask you to build a partnership with your doctor. Of course, don't be angry or offended by him, because these pathologies are quite rare, and doctors may really not know. And your task is simply to build partnerships and ask for direction for the next one. Blood, creatine phosphokinase or CPK for short, AST, ALT are part of our biochemistry. LDH, that is, lactate dehydrogenase and myoglobin. These are blood tests. Next, electroneuromyography and, ideally, to rule out myopathy, you need to do a needle test, but if it's suddenly not myopathy, then sensory LMWH can also give some clues. The next stage is an MRI of the muscles. These are complex, indeed. MRI muscles are not done everywhere, they are not understood everywhere, they are not interpreted everywhere, but nevertheless, this is the case. And again, on my checklist, diagnosis of myopathy is described as how to look and how to do this muscle MRI. If you have confirmed muscle destruction, that is, all these tests and studies confirm for us, we go to a geneticist. And we figure out where we will put an end to the diagnosis. Because primary myopathy, the geneticist puts an end to it. Often our guys are sent to a psychiatrist. Guys without a diagnosis. I'll explain from my own experience, because I've already communicated with people, with doctors, and talked. Look, if you have symptoms and all the above tests are clean, then there is CPK. CST, ALT, LDH, myoglobin are pure. Electroneuromyography is pure. Muscle MRI does not confirm muscle destruction. Then it makes sense. Go to a psychiatrist. If your symptoms are confirmed by both instrumental methods and tests, that is, for example, electroneuromyography may be normal, but your CPK is high. If at least one indicator is higher, then you just need to change your doctor. This is an important note. I don't dwell further on the diagnosis because, it seems to me, the topic is already hackneyed and very complex. I want to say that 50% of our people, unfortunately, remain without a diagnosis because some mutations have not yet been studied or described. In general, this is a very complex topic, and indeed for myopathy, clarifying the diagnosis is a huge victory, and what is very important is that if you have a diagnosis, then believe me, you are already lucky. Well, this, of course, sounds very blasphemous now, but I think those people who are here understand it. So, the second important step, it's accepting the diagnosis. Since we had a live broadcast, I think not everyone was on it, and it wouldn't hurt to stop there, but I'll stop anyway. I'll say it rudely now, so I want to apologize in advance to those whose feelings I'm about to hurt. While you are fighting, resisting, not wanting, not believing, any help will be blocked at all levels. That is, as long as we have these blocks. I don't believe it. I don't want it. It's not mine. It's not about me. It can't be. I don't accept this. Even if you read my blog, you won't see the benefits you can get. When you go to the best doctor to diagnose neuromuscular diseases, you may not get what you need. You may simply not get to the doctor. I have people who try to get there, fall, break their leg, and something else. That is, in this way we create obstacles for ourselves. And in fact, this is not magic at all. This is the work of our brain. I don't want to, that means I don't see. I don't know, it means there's nothing. As an example, let's look at how many subscribers I have. Let's take VK there, even in negative gram, where there were generally about 3,000 subscribers. Yes? And how many people come to my live broadcasts? How many people comment on posts? How many people give feedback? Well, there are just a few of them. That is, if you take that there are almost 2,000 subscribers on VK, well, at least 100 subscribers gave feedback. That's already, I would understand, oh, but there is no feedback there at all, you know. That is, people, what's going on? People don't care. People devalue. They don't believe. They don't want. Do you understand? But this is a person's choice. It's a choice. And here is a broadcast on accepting the diagnosis. Oh, okay, too lazy to look. Oh, come on, God, they've been talking about something for an hour and a half. No, I won't watch. Marathon to accept a diagnosis for 2,000. Oh, yes, it's expensive. Fuck it. I'd better go and take antidepressants. It's cheaper, right? That is, this is the story. Such people often attribute all my achievements to therapy, to my husband, to a truth that is convenient for them. But no one thinks that I work like hell every day and I work for my health. Well, that is, I really earned it. I spent it all for my health. Earned, lost. And in order to share with you, because everything that I go through, I absolutely give it all to you. And I don't feel sorry at all. It's not that I don't feel sorry for it, I live for it. And it's a pity for people to like it. It's a pity to come on air. Well, I understand that not everyone can, but there are people who really say, yes, well, damn, I really know that there are such people. Why doesn't all this work? It's all bullshit. And everything is bad for me. But she's doing well because. But that's not true. It's really life with a diagnosis. It's huge. It's colossal. It's titanic work. And each of you knows this. Each of you people knows this. I apologize that I address them as girls. Maybe we have a man on the air. I'm somehow out of habit. Here. And so think about this. And everything is in your hands. Everything is in your hands. And I believe in you, because every person who is present here now, you. Really dear to me and to yourself too. So, you need to accept the diagnosis. Not only with the mind. That is, as we say, I was diagnosed. The doctor said that the diagnosis was incurable. In my head I understand that I need to live with him. Okay, I'll live with him. And inside? At the level of the soul, yes, there is non-acceptance. We do not accept. We believe that life is generally unfair to us. And in general, I lived a normal life. Why the hell should I now? rebuilding something and generally changing your lives. And we can convince ourselves at the head level that everything is great. I'm generally positive, but at the same time suffer inside. They are afraid to talk about the diagnosis. They are afraid to ask questions in this direction about the diagnosis, and they are afraid to close this topic altogether. Therefore, acceptance must be felt. And if you live in self-deception, that is, I repeat, you are hurt by talking about the diagnosis if you still don't know what to thank your diagnosis for, then there is no acceptance. Once again, I encourage you to find the live broadcast on the blog. There is a test for accepting the diagnosis. And, of course, sign up for the I Choose Life session package. This is spot on. I won't stop now, but these are targeted 6 sessions specifically for working with the diagnosis. I wanted to do a marathon, yes, as I said above, for 2000, but there were no takers, and I also don't have time to create something that would not, as they say, be in demand. That's why I would like to remind you that it is possible to pay in installments without interest from the bank, and you can safely use my services. So, until the diagnosis is accepted, you will not have the desire and energy to live. And what I said, yes, does not happen. Nothing is impossible. Sometimes you don't have enough strength for it, and when we live without acceptance, we drain all our strength, these forces, which could be spent on our new life, are, unfortunately, drained into suffering. Life through must accept. It will not work out. It won't be possible to pretend for a long time to play in the life of a joyful person, so think about it. The third step is physical therapy. Movement is life, and this is an indisputable fact. As a person who studies anatomy, physiology, and biochemistry, I can say that without movement there is no success. And inside us, or rather, it exists, but it is very heavy. Our body compensates for a lot, and unfortunately, it is of poor quality and is declining. Therefore, movement must be created artificially, at least a little. Correct movement heals, incorrect movement cripples. For myopaths, this is an axiom that does not require proof. Indeed, it would be very good to find a competent rehabilitation therapist who will look at your MI muscles, because we have specialists who do MI muscles of the whole body. They interpret and prescribe which muscles are affected and which are no longer present. And a good rehabilitologist, he knows good muscle anatomy and knows, accordingly, which muscle compensates for which work of another muscle. Next, he looks at the MRI of the muscles. Visual inspection of a person. We look at distortions and compensations. We also look at human movement tests. That is, we tell you to do some specific exercises. And we see the state of our muscles, where they are shortened, where they are weakened, where there is nothing at all. And based on this whole beautiful picture, the rehabilitologist draws up an individual rehabilitation program. Then he teaches you these classes. He teaches you very well. It is very important that you do not violate the technique. That is, this is under supervision. A specialist is doing, perhaps teaching your family how to help you move segments of your body in order to create this artificial movement. And ideally, do this in front of a mirror. First, it improves visual muscle control. You could even try, say, stand there with your eyes closed, stand there with your eyes open, and stand there in front of a mirror. It will be a little easier for you in front of a mirror. That is, to complicate the task, yes, you need to do it without a mirror. But for us, people with nervous muscles, a mirror will be a good help in order to stabilize and not fall again, let's say. But everything I said is from the realm of fantasy. Each of you, when listening to this now, thought, oh yes, that would be cool. In fact, perhaps there is. I know that our guys study individually. I know that there are great results, but by and large this is really from the realm of fantasy. Therefore, we again take responsibility and work on our own. And I have a channel with Keep Moving exercises. It is absolutely, of course, without payment. So welcome. Right now in the comments, I want to join the channel, and I will add you. There is also a checklist for maintaining movement. The same, write a movement checklist and I will send it to you. Please tell me, do you have any questions about the topics that we discussed? If there is, then write. If not, then we will move on. We will now move on to this more global scope. So, well, I see, there are no questions. By the way, I can hear and see everything is fine, girls, boys. Yes? Margarita, look, hello, thank you for your question. So, about the child, depending on the age of the child, if a conscious child can watch the video and consciously perform the exercises, then it will do. If the child is small, then it's not a fact, because with kids there, I think it's necessary. So that the specialist rehabilitologist deals with it. He was nearby, observed, controlled these movements. That is, if the child is able to take on this responsibility under your leadership, then yes, quite. So, Snezhana, thank you very much. Yes, great. Yulichka, yes, I'll reset everything. You write bye. I will reset everything at the end of the broadcast, by tomorrow at least. Let's go. The fourth step is to monitor your health and lifestyle, both girls and boys. This is important to do regardless of whether you have therapy or not, because it will definitely prolong, as they say, the lifespan of your muscles. For those who do not have therapy, your task is to keep your muscles in a more or less intact state for as long as possible. And here the correct movement will help us. So is our way of life. Myopathy is a multi-system disease. Multi, that is, it affects many organs and systems. Why? Muscle is a huge and very underrated vital organ. Read the book by Steven Stipler called On the Muscles. How are you doing? I have it in the channel. Save the movement from anyone there. You can directly search for books using the hashtag. There are many interesting books there, including myology and the book Muscles. How are you doing? It's there in audio format. You can calmly, in general, when I listen to it. I turned it on during exercise therapy. This helped a lot, stimulated me, gave me, how to say, motivation to exercise, because what I heard there, I understood how important muscles are. But if you have not accepted the diagnosis, if for you it will be scary and traumatic, then accept the diagnosis first. Because I know that there are people who think with horror, oh God, if the muscles are responsible for this, then that's it, screw it, I've come. Therefore, be careful too. I don't encourage everyone, so I describe the hierarchy, yes, how we need to work, step by step. And further, as a nutritionist, 90% of myopathic clients can already, well, probably write a scientific paper. Because it's very clear what our guys are suffering from. Moreover, regardless of the form of myopathy, here the basis is muscle destruction. And everything else fades into the background, roughly speaking. And in the end, I explore myself on all layers. I've already had so many tests, you guys can't imagine. What crazy money, but I'm interested in it. I'm researching, I'm examining and observing. And I don't regret any time, money or effort on this, because, as I said above, I am in love with myopathy. I want to study it. It's clear that I won't study it and won't conquer it, but I want to know the maximum that will help prolong my days qualitatively. And so now, having gone through all these checks, a bunch of tests on people with myopathy, I can already see the myopathic pattern even without CPK. I don't even need to see the PFK for me to understand, hop 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 hop, these are the muscles. And one day, I'll tell you this story now. In my vision there was a girl. Marinochka, no, I'm not in a wheelchair. I had a stroller and had already used it before therapy. And I had 2 strollers entered in the VPI. poor prognosis for rehabilitation. I thought that was it. But it turned out not. I lost weight, who knows? It really helped give me a resource. Plus then therapy came in. Physical therapy came in. And for now, thank God, I'm on my feet. I don't dream of using a stroller for long distances. I use a stroller when moving and flying. And I think that this is completely justified, because I don't plan to fight with an injury to the last, to the victorious. I plan to walk as much as possible, but a stroller can be a good help for me in this regard. By the way, I have a great post on when to sit in a stroller. So, sorry for getting sidetracked. Further, once, yes, I had a girl in charge. Her mom followed me. Because I saw a lot of symptoms in my child that fit the description of myopathy. So what was there? Weakness. The girl was a little behind her peers in physical education. She had really lousy exercise tolerance. And the weight began to fall. Well, that is, weight loss. Well, you must agree, yes, it's very similar. They went through many tests, including organic acids and amino acids in the urine. In short, I dug up all the biochemistry. And, to be honest, I was horrified. There was no genetics there. The child just ate haphazardly. The body had no resources, and the body took these resources from the muscles, as you understand. Do you understand? Right. That is, the body did not have a substrate for energy production. Now I will try to explain in simple language so as not to overload you. Look, the child's tests were done, and if you look at the tests, it looks like she's a vegetarian. Why did the child eat meat like that? Because she practically couldn't digest protein. That is, it passed by, went into ammonia, and gave a toxic load. And nothing good happened. The child's carbohydrate metabolism did not work well. Nonsense, as I wanted to say in clever language, in short, insulin resistance. Insulin resistance, therefore, energy cannot be obtained from carbohydrates. Then her fat metabolism, that is, beta-oxidation of fatty acids, was disrupted, and the body switched to peroxidation of fatty acids, which caused severe oxidative stress. That is, you have probably heard a lot about this terrible expression. Our protein metabolism also suffered. There was no night's sleep. And this is also very important, because if there is no night's sleep, the body will trigger catabolism. As a result, the child has a completely unbalanced hypothalamic pituitary axis, which includes the thyroid gland, pancreas, and adrenal glands. And although there are no organic lesions, but just confused biological rhythms. That is, the child just needs to be taught to sleep, to go to bed at 10 o'clock. The child is in acidosis. The body saves itself as best it can and eats itself. And this now happens very often in our modern world. Very often, because insulin resistance, well, you know what it is. Scourge of the 21st century. And when he begins to suffer, everything else suffers accordingly. And these are the conclusions. Whether there is a diagnosis or not, it doesn't matter. It is important that you need sleep at night. 2300 is the maximum, ideally 22, and nutrition should be complete. But in order for nutritious nutrition to be absorbed, it happens that a person looks at his food diary. He's really cool. A great guy. There are intervals between meals and that's it. But there are health problems, and because there are problems, go with absorption by the gastrointestinal tract, with metabolic processes. And everything that is beautiful, tasty, expensive and correct does not reach the recipient, roughly speaking. And then I will talk about myopaths. All myopaths I treat have a total glutathione deficiency. You've probably heard that there are these fancy cool glutathione drips, but I'm begging you, don't rush to drip them, because later I'll tell you why. Glutathione is an essential detoxifier. Our body spends resources on removing damaged muscle fibers. And other organs suffer. What are our detoxification organs? This is the liver. These are the kidneys. This is our lymphatic system. This is the gastrointestinal tract. This is the intestines. This is the genitourinary system. This is the skin. And all organs, again, the hypothalamus, pituitary axis, pancreas, thyroid, adrenal glands, sex hormones, all of the lymphatic system suffers in myopaths. Why? Because what drives our lymph? Muscles that work well when we have them in good shape. Many of our guys who are gaining weight, many are not fat. Namely, stagnation of lymphatic fluid. At one time, I lost 10 kilograms with just lymph, girls and boys, only lymph. When I started to study fully and correctly, and when we have stagnation of lymph, this waste is all there. Do you understand? When we have constipation, and many people have acute constipation, we have all this slag. Nothing is displayed. The detoxification organs are overloaded. They are just there. I don't know. They are in shock. Therefore, one of the most important points that was noted in all my clients with myopathy is the ammonia load. Symptoms. Brain fog. You know, there's such a mess in the head. There's no strength at all. There's this fog in the head. Migraines are headaches. A very important combination of depression and behavioral disorders. Our children often fall into depression. This can also be explained by the fact that the muscles are weak because who is training? Girls, right. I know that I have many here, my athletes. How many years I have been training? How many people have been training with me? When you exercise, how much your mood improves, how much your brain is activated, and how much you become effective. Just right to me, when our muscles are weak, we are inactive, our endorphins are poorly produced, hence depression, behavioral disorders. But this may just be due to muscle poisoning. It is the ammonia that is released. This also includes anxiety and poor sleep. That is, when you have increased anxiety and you don't sleep well, you have problems waking up. Waking up, by the way, I wrote that it could also be hypoglycemia. Yes, girls, the difference is immediately visible. After training, your mood is immediately better. Thank you very much, this is true. Therefore, if you are depressed, please start doing exercise therapy. At least a little, at least a little. Ask your family to let them move your arms and legs. Here's something stronger. Let's return to ammonia. Anxiety, poor sleep, ammonia, bruises, swelling under the eyes. Decreased visual acuity. Maybe you know how it happens, as if the vision has crouched. Then, once again, it seemed to get better. And there may be a decrease in appetite, and there is a refusal of protein foods. Why? Because when protein is not digested, we release ammonia, and accordingly, our body does not want protein foods. Please write who experienced any of the symptoms. I mean, look, brain fog, headaches, depression, behavioral disorders, anxiety, poor sleep, bruises and swelling under the eyes, decreased visual acuity, decreased appetite, refusal of protein foods. What I can say about myself. I have headaches, I have swelling under my eyes, and I almost always have blue spots under my eyes. I get brain fog. And there is a decrease in visual acuity. That is, well, I'm not saying it's constant, but periodically, yes. Yes, Yulechka. Yes, Alena. Everything is true. Everything is true. Yes. Yes. Yes, girls. I understand you very well, and all this is understandable. This doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. This is the consequence. Moreover, ammonia can be present in absolutely healthy people. There's no way I say that this is straight myopathy, but it just so happens that 100% of myopaths have an ammonia load. Therefore, when it seems to us, it does not seem to us. The next problem is mitochondrial dysfunction. Even if you don't have mitochondrial myopathy, 100% of my clients do. That's why I'll explain, in addition to weak muscles, mitochondria will suffer, but also ammonia suppresses mitochondrial function when we have an ammonia load. This ammonia dampens our mitochondria. Imagine, mitochondria are like our little people who produce energy for us. And guys who have mitochondrial dysfunction, the glutathione drips we talked about above, they will suppress the mitochondria even more. Or rather, mitochondrial dysfunction, unfortunately, will only progress. Therefore, falls are not suitable for us. In the best case, again, through an appointment specialist. Liposomal glutathione courses. This might be suitable, but I want to say right away that the precursor of glutathione is selenium. Therefore, selenium is also our favorite companion. It must be a course. So this is what mitochondrial dysfunction feels like. It feels like constant chronic fatigue. It's clear that I just got up. I'm already tired. This is about myopathy. But it happens like this. Now I will explain to you. I want to, but I can't. It's muscle weakness. And I can, but I don't want to. This is. And often we have a combo. We have weak muscles and plus constant fatigue. Hypertonia, that is, mitochondrial dysfunction, even in healthy people will weaken muscles. This is coldness, weakness, low energy level. Again, I repeat, I want to, but I can't. This is muscle weakness. I don't want to, even though I can. This is weakness, no energy. Weakness, lethargy, poor stamina, both physical and mental. You have just a couple of hours to work. After lunch you already. Sorry, not pooping. This is also my topic, my friends, because I am no different from everyone else. And, accordingly, my stamina is weak. I need more rest, time to relax, and I try to organize this whenever possible. Problems with speech, articulation, yes, but, of course, not everyone will have this, but, nevertheless, it happens that the tongue becomes slurred. You never talk much, that's how I trend all day long. And when you speak, you don't seem to be very tired, but your tongue gets slurred. Further, constipation and weak intestinal motility. This is also about mitochondrial dysfunction. Impaired absorption of food. When we have problems with the gastrointestinal tract, with mitochondrial dysfunction, it will be standard because it cannot be digested normally. Anemia. Anemia girls write to me. Who has it? Yes, 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 yes. So girls, I'll give you further questions. I'll answer you. I'll answer everything after the broadcast. Further. Here, anemia. Yes, yes, girls, I also have anemia, but now I hope I will have an operation and recover a little. But anemia. Mitochondria require oxygen to produce energy. In conditions of hypoxia, when we have anemia, a full process of energy production is simply impossible. So if you are anemic and mitochondrial dysfunction with myopathy, then it is clear that you have no strength for anything. And when I say that nothing is impossible, you will tell them you're crazy. Well, you will be right, because you do not have the strength for this. That's all. So, of course, don't be offended by me. I just went through it all myself. I know it all, and accordingly, I can understand each of you. So, the target organs for mitochondrial dysfunction. The targets are those organs that will suffer when there is mitochondrial dysfunction. Of course, these are muscles. Yes, much further, but I repeat, when we also have mitochondria, and in any case it comes secondarily to us, our muscles will suffer again. Convulsions will appear, muscle pain and myalgia will appear. Many people say my muscles hurt, but the doctor says that myopathy is not characteristic of this at all. So, you know, this is not typical for myopathies, but it is typical for mitochondrial dysfunction. Do you understand? Therefore, yes, myopathy is not typical for them. Next is PTOS. Well, yes, in the eyes. On my left eye there is PTOS. For those who haven't noticed, pay attention to this. Ophthalmoplegia. Further, the second target organ is the brain. Lethargy, poor memory, seizures in some cases, of course, we don't have them, migraines, strokes, stroke-like conditions. Therefore, mitochondrial dysfunction is something to look out for, especially for our older girls, who are already approaching menopause. It will be accordingly. strengthen and provide triggers for these stroke-like conditions. Next is, of course, the nervous system. These are neuropathic pain and weakness, which can be wave-like, sometimes more, sometimes less, acute, chronic, inflammatory. There may be polyneuropathy. Deep tendon reflexes may be absent. Well, of course, many of us don't have them. Problems with the gastrointestinal tract, and this is constipation, pseudo-obstruction of the intestine, this is fainting, this is excessive sweating, this is a violation of thermoregulation, this is gastroincisional reflux, that is, when we have bile reflux that goes to the coat of arms, and many guys also have this whole story. Keep in mind that this can also be a result of casting. Mitochondrial dysfunction. The next organ is the kidneys. Renal tubular dysfunction, possibly loss of protein and amino acids. And our guys, they lose amino acids just completely. I'm telling you, this will be our next point. So here, just notice, the kidneys are suffering and there is a loss of protein, and very often we think, Lord, where does he go, this protein? I eat it. My entire gastrointestinal tract has already healed. It's mitochondrial dysfunction, guys. That's all. Next, there will be a deficiency of magnesium, phosphorus, calcium, and other electrolytes. And these electrolytes are so important. It is your blood pressure that can increase when there is an electrolyte imbalance when people faint. But this is very serious. The next target organ is the heart. Impaired conduction in the heart block, cardiomyopathy. Not all myopathies have cardiomyopathy, and not all myopathies affect heart muscle, but mitochondrial dysfunction can trigger this. Do you understand? Here, my dears, next is the liver. Hypoglycemia, impaired gluconeogenesis. This is non-alcoholic liver damage. Hypoglycemia often occurs during night awakenings, when our adrenaline soars, when our critical glucose drops. Adrenaline soars in order to hit the muscles, tear the muscle fiber, and get energy from there. And this is a combo for myopathy, believe me. It's a combo. Therefore, we monitor carbohydrate metabolism, we monitor the adrenal glands like the apple of our eye. And, of course, non-alcoholic liver damage. I often encounter fatty liver hepatosis. Girls, young ones, where from? Well, of course, there's Gilbert syndrome, and there are other problems with detoxification. But keep in mind that if there is also mitochondrial dysfunction, then it also has such stories. Eyes, optic neuropathy, retinitis pigmentosa maybe. The pancreas is diabetes, exocrine pancreatic insufficiency. And a systemic disorder, that is, an inability to gain weight. Yes, my dears, who can't gain weight among us? We have guys with myopathy who cannot. So, you need to pay attention to the mitochondrial balance, because sometimes guys come to me, they are very heavy, very. And it's even hard for me to take them for a vision, because you first need to start this energy exchange in the body, and only then try to do something. But sometimes this is, unfortunately, no longer possible. Therefore, it is very important to monitor this. Fatigue, respiratory problems. We already know that myopathy often affects the respiratory systems. Not all forms, but there are some. But mitochondrial dysfunction will increase. That is, this is a pandra like this, an ally of myopathy, who will give us all these symptoms, intensify them, accelerate them, and so on. This is a periodic lack of air. Well, it happens, hop, and somehow there's not enough air. This is a common story with anemia. That is, you understand how many side effects it can cause and how it generally affects your health. And this is what? Natalia, yes, there will be a recording. There will be a recording, yes. That's it, right? Let's move on. Total protein deficiency, and, as a result, dramatic vitamin deficiencies are observed in 100% of my clients. My good ones. This is the biggest problem that needs to be supported. This is really what needs to be supported. This is to feed our mitochondria artificially in courses and replenish protein artificially and utilize ammonia artificially. That is, to help the body cope with it. So, protein deficiency. I am now listing the symptoms for you. If anyone has these symptoms, please note them in the comments. So, these are hemorrhoids, these are varicose veins, these are hair loss, these are thin and brittle nails, these are weak mucous membranes. For example, gastritis, ulcers or increased sensitivity of mucous membranes. For example, before nutritionology came into my life, I had very weak mucous membranes. How is this expressed? We ate a piece of lemon. The fucker cuts. We ate an apple on an empty stomach. It's all bad. You just can't straighten up. Everything hurts, everything cuts, everything that is completely incomprehensible. That is, they are weak and slimy. Next, the coat of arms is gastroesophagitis, reverse bile reflux. I think those who have them are active. You already know this, but sometimes some people have them at night, not very noticeable. And very often we see a yellow coating on the tongue in the morning. In the morning, when you stick your tongue out, just waking up, without drinking or eating, you see a yellow coating. You had night casts. And there is also plaque on the inside of the teeth. You seem to have cleaned everything in the evening, and in the morning you get up, and something is somehow wrong. This is also a sign of abandonment. Poor skin quality means acne, blackheads, and wrinkles. We are not talking about age, we are talking about when it is outside of any framework. These include poor wound healing, muscle weakness, and poor exercise tolerance. If anyone has something similar, please post. But I repeat, a huge number of people, including me and 100% of myopaths, have protein deficiency. These are the three main ones, even four, because we also said about glutathione, whale, which 100% of myopaths need support. Everything else is further down to our individual nuances, but this is what is basic. And I'll explain to you about dramatic deficits due to protein deficiency. Protein delivers our vitamins to the cell. And accordingly, if you have low protein and you take vitamins, they may, well, not be very effective. That is, they may not reach where they need to, or they may reach a different place. You simply won't feel it. Because a squirrel is like that postal horse that picked it up and carried it away, picked it up and carried it away. If there is no one to carry it, and it will also be just as poorly absorbed from food. Here. Yes, Yulechka, thank you very much for sharing. Because how to check whether there is a failure to assimilate? Well, the simplest method is to pass the program. See if there are muscle fibers there. This is the first sign. The second sign is low protein levels. Low albumin levels and the ratio of total protein to albumin will be less than 60 or significantly more. That is, this difference will have a role. I had a week there somewhere in nutrition. Diagnosis of protein deficiency. If you are interested, remind me. I will send you links to our group. So the fifth step is lifestyle. What else spoils our muscles? I'll go over it briefly here. Insulin resistance. Eating simple carbohydrates, cheesecake buns and all this stuff that's not necessary for us. It's constant snacking when your mouth won't close, when you haven't had time to eat. An apple or a cookie here and there. Weak muscles are not able to utilize glucose fully. And I wrote a post this week. No one, however, practically commented, but besides Tatiana, thank you and by the way for this, but in general, high insulin will lead to catabolism and the second is the lack of night sleep. Guys, I don't know how you want. Style yourself however you want. If you can't, come and accompany me. We'll look for why you're not sleeping. If you don't go to bed until 23 at the latest, then I have generally bad news for you. Your myopathy is progressing faster than it could. And you pay with your muscles for your nightly high. Listen, this is a very expensive price. Really, our muscles are worth their weight in gold. And alcohol. I don't even want to stop here, my friends, because it's the same as with sleep. And if you are in tandem, sit down and enjoy your nightly libations. I don't blame you, because I did it myself. Because that's how I relieved stress. I thought it was all great. But no, This is all self-deception. And if you drink at night, just think about why you don't want to live like that. And just go to a psychologist if you really want to live. This is really, really important. And I think that glass of wine is not worth your muscles. Of course, it can, yes, there can be insomnia due to age, because with age our adrenal gland function decreases, and accordingly, sex hormones decrease, and when our adrenal glands do not work well, our circadian rhythms are disrupted. So, this matters. How do myopaths live now? Tell me honestly. Well, how I live? No way, because up would help, as I said, get a diagnosis, live there further as you want. But it's really easier here. You can find a community of foreign patients, some information, but there are no full-fledged exercise therapy protocols, no recommendations, no adequate psychological support, because, excuse me, a psychologist can just talk to me, but that doesn't work with me. I need a functional job with searching for reasons, removing them, and so on. That is, I love functionality, vitamins, amino acids, which are offered by doctors. This is great, but they affect an unprepared body, poorly functioning metabolic processes, and also the functioning of the gastrointestinal tract. They will not be fully absorbed. The same amino acids will be used for ammonia. You see, for the synthesis of new ammonia, because it will not be absorbed normally. I have kids with myopathy, for whom I give amino acids. By the way, this is top, this is my love, this is generally what my muscles adore. Not every myopathic body is able to absorb amino acids. Some people have to give collagen first, gradually level it out, stabilize protein metabolism, and only then we can add amino acids because the body physically cannot cope. If it is collagen, unfortunately, it has no effect on the muscles. I'll tell you right away, this is a little another story. Therefore, you see, ammonia will scald. Or you drank it, pierced it, yes, that doctors, I often hear. So the doctors recommended vitamins to me. I pierced it, drank it, but still there are kickbacks. Nothing is felt, nothing works. Well, because that's what happens. Because the body must be prepared for this. And this is our job, what we can do. And I know how to help you. So, I plan to launch a physical and mental health support club, Living with Myopathy. And I want to say right away that I'll just open the pre-recording now. And if people get there, I'll start formalizing everything. Shoot videos, write protocols, and do everything. To be honest, I don't have the physical strength for this. After the broadcast, I will reset the pre-recording sheet. This is a Google form. It will need to be filled out only by those who will actually participate there, who are really ready to go there even tomorrow. If you are there like her, maybe, then it's better not to fill it out. So what do you get? You will get access to unique information that really doesn't exist anywhere, because in fact no one has done this yet. How you will receive information on how to help yourself and support your body. All this is not a theory from scientific works, but rather practice, applicable experience, which has been studied from the inside and has already been tested on many people. So what will happen at the club? Of course, this is a banal way of life and nutrition. I will give you instructions for beginner's healthy lifestyle. I will give you recipes. I will teach you how to sleep, yes, like this one. Get full sleep. You and I will introduce physical activity. All this will be with a level of support for you. With answers to questions, you, of course, will get access to the Save the Movement channel, which is already free with us, and you will get access to the live breathing club. Who doesn't know, we have a breathing club, it's paid, but everyone who comes to the myopathy club, they will get access there. Next you will receive support for physical health with myopathy. That is, analyzers. A list of tests to keep an eye on, and I will give you their optimal values. That is, you can do it without me, on your own. Even if you don't understand something, you have me. I will answer your questions, and you will learn to understand it. We will talk about the health of the musculoskeletal system, namely the joints, because my joints suffer. This is how to diagnose and corrective schemes. Of course, I will not give you a correction regimen with non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, because this the work of doctors. I have no right to give you such schemes, but I will give you schemes in maintaining your musculoskeletal system at the level. Those competencies that they are not allowed, which will nourish, give resources to the body and help. Next will be a correction scheme for viral infections. You know that often with viruses we weak because the muscles are dehydrated. And so, when you are sick with viral infections, I beg you, drink a lot of water. This is very important. Next, you will receive a ready-made scheme for restoring the gastrointestinal tract after taking non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. You know very well that they are amazing. Gastrointestinal tract from the first use. And it doesn't matter at all whether the pills are an injection or an ointment, because they block. They are steroidal anti-inflammatory. They simply block the tonsils, which start, damn it. In general, I don't want to burden you. I'm already tired. The mucous membranes of the gastrointestinal tract are starting to break down, even from one injection. Therefore, support and restoration. Very important. The mucous membranes flew away. You drank painkillers, but we often drink them because, excuse me, our joints hurt. Drank. Our mucous membranes are damaged. We also drink AMEs. We know proton pump inhibitors that reduce acidity. The acidity has been reduced. We will no longer absorb protein. Ammonia will scald even more. And, accordingly, protein is not absorbed. We have protein deficiency, muscle weakness increases, mitochondrial dysfunction. That's it, we've arrived. Just like that. And we will have a scheme for restoring the gastrointestinal tract after non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. There will be a scheme for removing ammonia. That is, we will learn to diagnose it ourselves. That is, let's go. There they took several tests twice a year. Yeah, there's this cut. What I will say. Next is a recovery plan after taking antibiotics. Antibiotics are also an important companion because they save lives and sometimes you cannot do without them. And of course, it is very important for us to close the intestines and then help it recover. Next, there will be a scheme for supporting mitochondria in myopathies. We have already talked about what mitochondrial dysfunction leads to. You will receive a support plan on how to support them and feel fulfilled. Because you will have energy, your gastrointestinal tract will work, and you will say, "Oh damn, I have everything. I want it, though I can't do everything." Yes, but at least when energy appears, it's different. Next are basic deficiencies and vitamins. The topic of vitaminization is very individual, but I will give you the base that will help you. Of course, there will be support for mental health. As a psychologist, I will record your work through the PVS method in audio formats. Upon acceptance of a diagnosis, perhaps I'll take some of you, and we'll do a group study live. Let's see and think about how it will be. It all depends on the number of people who come. And, of course, we will conduct live broadcasts there and answer your questions. Where will it take place? It will take place in a closed Telegram channel. I think this is convenient for everyone. I plan to provide access to the channel for 3 months. I'll explain why. Because when we have unlimited access, I know from myself, and especially a small price tag, and the price tag will be small. Everything will be shelved. Yes, I did later. When you have limited time, you will try to get the information you paid money for. As I already said, the club will be paid. The cost will be one time, that is, you paid for access. And we ended up in the club for 3 months. I plan to make the cost 5,000 rubles. That is, divide it into 3 months. Calculate how many pennies a month it is. Well, real pennies. After the broadcast, I will post a pre-recording questionnaire. And everyone who is 100% ready to go for 5,000 rubles, please sign up. Be sure to provide reliable information and contacts where I can write to you. Because I will tell you, after people are recruited, I will write to you directly that this is how we are recruiting the club. That's it, so I can contact you. Next, after the broadcast, I will give a gift to everyone who was there until the end, and indeed to everyone. How to live with myopathy, step-by-step instructions. Because what's valuable to me is that you've been here for an hour already. God, we've been sitting for an hour, you're probably tired already. There was a lot of information. Therefore, my dears, now I will answer your questions. If anyone wants to ask a question, I'm waiting for you. Eva Omega will probably be here. So, that's not a question, yes. So, regarding vitamins, girls, this is a very individual story. All vitamin D and magnesium are things that can be taken without B. Omega is a very controversial story, but this is a very long conversation, as if I would prescribe omega only after a person has completed the program and filmed certain moments there. So, how to remove ammonia? Alinochka, we will discuss this at our club. Why? I'll explain, because these are specific tests. These are certain manipulations. Everyone will have it a little individually. Maybe there is no such one answer. Regarding losing weight, Marina wrote a question. Losing weight, of course, with myopathies is a difficult task, but possible. And here you need to pay attention to nutrition. You need to pay attention to deficits. You need to pay attention to metabolic processes, including carbohydrates, and so on, first of all. And, of course, the work of the gastrointestinal tract, because we gain weight when we eat a lot, and when we eat something that is not digestible. So the child is 7 years old. Well, look. Mostly, of course, I work with adults. I usually take children after 10 years. But basically, one way or another, the information will do. The second question is with drug dosages. That is, a child from the age of 7 will accordingly need less dosage of drugs. But in general, the recommendations will be useful, including when the child reaches the same 60 kilograms. So, Cholpan, remove fatty liver hepatosis. How? Look, if you have Gilbert syndrome, this is a violation of the second phase of detoxification, namely glucuronidation. Most likely the main source. Therefore, here courses of L-carnitine are good, calcium D-glucarate is good, nutrition, of course, that is. Remove simple carbohydrates and, of course, this exception is for alcohol, if any. And, in general, all this needs to be looked at individually. But look at the Cholpan with vitamins very carefully. In your case only through a doctor, you know which one. So, sleep is normal, but with the arrival of spring, early awakening begins. Bedtime. Larissa, look, the thing is that when we have, how can I tell you? Daylight hours, Lord, I'm already talking. Daylight hours are increasing, and we wake up earlier. This could happen. This is how your biological rhythms work. Look, if you feel exhausted when you get up at 5 in the morning, that's one question. If you, in principle, wake up at 5 in the morning and feel okay, then, in principle, you don't need to do anything about it. If anything, you can try shifting your sleep schedule by an hour. About selenium. Listen, Yulechka, let's say I have a mutation in, like his Lord Eugene, who is responsible for the absorption of selenium. I'm currently on double dosage, and now a double dosage, it barely maintains some level. So look, there's such an analysis in biochemistry, GGTP. I forgot how he is. Transcript, GGTP. He is selenium dependent in our country, and if it is less than 15, then there is definitely a selenium deficiency. You can also look at the universe by level. In general, look at the thyroid gland and there, in my opinion, T. Now I'll tell you, Lord, I've already started talking. I'm all tired so as not to lie to you. In my opinion, it will be reduced. So I recommend the Life Extension brand. It's called Super Selenium Complex. What is he good for? There are two forms of selenium. Selenium methionine and selenium cysteine. This is very popular. Our thyroid gland. And there it is also enhanced with vitamin E. If you haven't taken it without analysis and haven't taken it for a long time, you can take one capsule for lunch or drink it in the morning for 2 months. Oh, ketone bodies in the urine, Janocka, this is no longer good. Unless, of course, you had a long fast, because if you haven't eaten for a long time, let's say you ate at 5 in the evening. They went to bed and then took, say, tests for a long time, and, accordingly, they didn't eat much, they might fall out. But this is not the norm. I'll explain why. Our body gets energy from glucose. When it can't get it from glucose, it starts trying to get energy from fats by producing ketone bodies. He uses ketone bodies for energy, but if they fall out in the urine, it says he can't get it. Accordingly, carbohydrate metabolism suffers and fat metabolism suffers. And in this case, as I said, the body can begin to switch to eating amino acids, that is, our muscles. So watch this please. Maybe retake the test another time and look further at the situation. 6 months ago, anxiety and depression appeared against the backdrop of ongoing bicycle repairs. Well, of course, repairs are, damn it, permanent stress. This is real. I wanted to take the simplest new contraindication for our myopathy. Perhaps consistently something light. So, well, in general there's such a good tea from Light, called Tulsi. It is sold on Ozone, you can drink it before bed. I won't undertake to recommend everything else just like that, as I say, throwing it into the air, because this is such an individual story. I'll explain now. There is a good drug L-theanine, for example. It is good for calming before bed. Everything seems to be fine, but there are stories when we have different mutations, small ones, and so on, and it can cause an exciting effect. That is, everything is very individual, but as an option you can try, well, as they say, at your own responsibility. So, the tea is thick. I'll immediately send you some thick tea. Tea. It is good for calming before bed. But just drink, please, so that, as they say, you won't write later. Because I know what can happen. So, here's an example. So, Tanya, your eyesight is decreasing. Take a general urine test. Not quite, Tanya. I understand the question. Please write in more detail. It seems to me that someone has a shaka marituja, alienashka, and you're here. Yes, that's what I wanted to say. Yeah, that's it, Tanya, I understand. I understand you. So, whose questions did I not answer? Girls, please write if I haven't answered. If I answered everyone. That. Now I will post a link to the pre-recording. If suddenly, for some technical reason, these links are, damn it, buggy, just write in the comments that I will go there, but damn it, the link is not filled out. But try, of course, to do everything through a link. Well, if lately. So, Yulechka, if lately the volume of your belly has been growing, Yulia, please tell me, is it a layer of fat, or does it seem to be inflating? You know how it happens, well, like with pregnant women. Because if there is a fat layer, Then here I would look at carbohydrate metabolism. If it inflates, this may be intra-abdominal pressure, which can also be caused by problems in the scapular region. The vagus nerve is damaged, by the way. I have a cool old post. I'll find it. I need to revive it. Soft, yeah, well, a layer of fat. So, look, there may be a pelvic floor first, yes, that is, the pelvic floor muscles suffer and the lower abdomen is blown out. Especially if you write the lower abdomen. Well, and the possibility of fat. It's also possible to exclude insulin resistance on the pelvic floor, of course. This is also our problem, girls, unfortunately. There, you see, one muscle flew and off we go. Compensations. Compensations overload other muscles, and therefore it is very important to monitor this. Do some kind of exercises. Pelvic clock. Julia, make a pelvic clock if possible. You are in my channel with exercises. The pelvic clock is very cool. It relieves the load on the lumbar region. Because when our lumbar region is in spasm, our abdominal muscles weaken, and accordingly, this whole story begins to suffer. If you don't find it, write me and I'll send it to you. Don't be shy, girls. If you can't find something, write directly. Into promise this one on air. Drop it, please. So, well, my dears, we will slowly say goodbye. I want to thank you for being here, for sitting stoically for an hour and 15. It seems to me that this is simply heroism, because now the brains will no longer perceive information. This is no longer realistic. And, of course, I will be doing live broadcasts on my other blogs. Come, welcome. I will try to go out more often. Come to my psychology and blogs. Come to nutritionology. There's a lot of free information out there that you can use. If you want individual work, no problem either. I'm always glad to see everyone. Let me remind you that there is an installment plan. Now I'll review all your comments. I'll send them all to whom I promised. I'll send you everything I promised. If I don't send it today, girls, because it's already 9 o'clock, I'm kind of tired, then I'll send it tomorrow. Okay, if anything happens, don't lose it. I will do everything I promised. Thank you very much for your feedback. I hug you all. I love you madly. It is very pleasant and important for me to do this not only for myself, but also
First
for
of all,
you. Of course, I do all this for myself. Because it is impossible to do otherwise. If you don't love yourself, don't do good for yourself. You can't bring good to others. And when you pass it through yourself, through your experience, it's a completely different level. Thank you very much. Thank you. Hugs to you. Thank you again. I'll broadcast it. I will do everything I promised to everyone. Sign up for the club. I promise you. Lots of benefits. There will be a lot of benefit there. Have a nice evening, everyone, and have a great weekend. Girls, relax. Try to reduce this level of anxiety. At least by the power of thought. I understand that sometimes you need to work on physics, but try to work in this direction. Thank you very much. Hugs. Bye-bye.